Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast and to the latest Two Blues Tuesday, our weekly roundup, talking everything Chelsea, and this week talking everything European football as well. I don't know who's plugged in to that Aston Villa Bruges game, hell of a first half, and we are going to be having an eye on Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Arsenal, PSV, and more this week. But we're back. It's your boys, the Two Blues. I'm back with my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks. What are we saying? Already Seb, Abdi, Edwige in the cut. My guys, appreciate all of you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the Two Blues podcast if you're not already. But most importantly, guys, get involved. This is our weekly chat shit episode. This is our weekly roundup where you get to hear us spew on everything football. So we want to hear your opinions, guys. Are Chelsea back? Is Estevao Willian really the truth? Just two of a few topics we are going to be discussing today. But Mr. C Money, kick things off for us. How are you? Obviously, first time that we've spoken since a resounding 4-0 win at Southampton. Are Chelsea back? We're feeling a lot better than we were this time last week, that's for sure.
I think that we needed that result. You know, we said 1 or 2 wasn't going to do it. We need 3, we need 4. That's what we got. We got 4-0. Obviously, Palmer, it wasn't an amazing display from him. I think that he looked like he was really almost nervous to score a goal. He seemed very erratic, like he really wanted to get on there. And I think that's kind of the only detriment I could take from last week. But to be totally honest, it's just good to be coming in here off the back of a win, a nice dominant win. And to be totally honest, it's sitting here talking about our expectations being met, because I feel like over the last couple of weeks, regardless of what expectation it is, we've been just a little bit left down or left just a little bit kind of with a cloud over our head. So it's nice to just having done the dirty, sitting here back and just chat about what we got next. Bit about Europe.
100%, bro. And I mean, at the time, I think it was all positives, not taking a single negative from that game. You know, no one's getting carried away from beating struggling Southampton that every other Premier League team has wiped the floor with. This is potentially the worst Premier League team we have ever seen. So nobody's getting carried away. But at the same time, you know, fantastic performance. Finally, a clean sheet at home, and Nkunku on the score sheet, Colwill on the score sheet. There were a lot of positives. You know, Pedro Neto looks really dangerous in the last couple of weeks. He seems to be our best option in the false nine. How do you see that? You know, with Nicholas Jackson, being out, you know, till the return of the international break. We've still got a couple of games. I mean, I hope he's back for that big double header against Arsenal and Tottenham. But I mean, at this point, are we looking at Pedro Neto as a more likely number 9 in the Conference League rather than Nkunku?
Maybe not in the Conference League, but I think in the league, yeah, for sure. I think he's shown a lot of impetus, if you will. I think he's shown a lot of desire to score. And obviously, we know how good he is from both his time at Wolves and at Chelsea. You know, we know that he's able to play off of both feet. And my God, he's got a pass on him. He can shoot from pretty much as good as he can from 12 yards as he can from 32 yards as well. That's the other thing I like about him. So I don't mind if he does sit a little bit deeper. But yeah, I think that right now, with all the alternatives we had, I think that the thing that makes the most sense is having him as a sort of 9 who can drift off to the side and let Palmer be that one that can lead the line should he need to. And say we get a little bit found out, we do have that free-flowing sort of attacking options. You know, we have the options to kind of, as you've called it before, the Magician's Cup. You know, we can kind of just keep it moving and rotate the play. So I think that starting out with Neto up top, I don't think it's that bad of a shout, to be totally honest. I like it.
Fair enough. And obviously drawing on what you kind of mentioned there, you know, Cole Palmer, still our leading scorer, leading assist maker, 14 goals. I think it's 6 assists as well. He's now gone 7 consecutive games without a goal contribution, which is by far his longest spell in a Chelsea shirt. I think his longest spell before was 4 games, maybe 5, but 7 games now. He did miss key chances against Southampton. You know, in previous games, it's been, you know, he's getting frustrated with other players, maybe not finishing the chances he's putting on a plate. He had a couple one-on-ones against Southampton, should have bagged. I think there was one in the second half against Aston Villa as well. Is this a dip in form we are seeing from Cole Palmer now, or is this just a blip that is going to be sorted? Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I think I'm a little bit optimistic, and I might even be commentators cursing it, but I might triple captain him against Leicester on the FPL.
It feels like the bubble's got to burst very shortly. I mean, even against Southampton, I think that the football that he was playing was fine. It's just it's that last little bit. He's not getting the luck against Villa when that ball just bobbles a little bit and he trips. He's not getting the luck against Southampton. I think he had that opportunity where he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper and he doesn't quite take it or bury it the way that I know he can. He kind of wrapped his foot around it. And yeah, I feel like we're just edging so close. And as you said, I think Leicester's a great place for him to pick it up. I thought Southampton would have been. Seems a bit of an anomaly to not get on a goal or assist at Southampton. So I think it's time for him to get 2 or 3 somewhere else. And where better than Leicester? I mean, bar Southampton, that's the best place that we could go in the league.
What do you put it down to this year?
Yeah, it's tricky. I think that when you actually look at it, I think that one major contributing factor to the drop is losing Nicholas Jackson. I think that the way that they had played football together and the way that they had learned to synergize, I think it's hard for Palmer to do what both he was doing and what Jackson's doing, able to really tie everyone in. Because I think that we forget that how much tenacity Nicholas Jackson, I know me and you don't, but I think that the large majority of people forget how much tenacity that Nicholas Jackson brings into that squad and, chasing down defenders and centre-backs and really being a nuisance. I think that Palmer played off of that, being the calm in the storm, where Jackson would be the one that was being all aggressive. As soon as he turned around and gave it to Palmer, it was like the energies changed. It was more of like Palmer's now looking up, will he shoot? If not, he's going to slide it through. And now I think it's more Palmer's got to be doing the chasing. And if not, whoever is doing the chasing can't really find Palmer. And I just feel like it's like, when you're doing a puzzle and there's that one piece missing, you can't say you've completed a puzzle. You can do as much as you can, but without that last key bit for the middle, it's hard to really tie it all together. And that's what I put it down to. I think that Palmer's kind of lost the body to his Clyde. He's lost that second half of what really makes him work really well. And I think that when Jackson comes back, all of a sudden, I think Palmer's going to tick back on.
So you think it's down to the system much, rather than personal inconsistency?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, okay. And obviously a little bit of a personal dip in form as well. You can't deny that he's not been up to the standard that we expect from him. I think that particularly in that Brighton game, I thought he could have done more. I thought he had a couple of chances that he could have done a lot more with. But yeah, outside of that, I think that Jackson's a large part of it.
Yeah, I think it's a testament as well to, as you said, the quality. The expectation we have for Cole Palmer is when he doesn't score a hat-trick, we're like, where the fuck was he? What did he do? I mean, he still has an instrumental game. Everything goes through him, creates 7-8 shots. I mean, and I hate to say this because I hate the stat, but his assists is off the charts in the last few games. He's got like 7 or 8 expected assists. So it's not just down to him. It is obviously down to the rest of the team. And I'll be honest, I mean, partially, I think down to Maresca as well. Because, for all his faults, Pochettino didn't have an issue with Cole Palmer at any point last season. And, Maresca has seen a longer dry spell than we've ever seen from Cole Palmer before. Obviously tough to judge with only one season under his belt, but, I do have to question whether it's something to do perhaps with the positioning. Sometimes he plays off the left side when, naturally you're thinking right, left-sided player should play off the right to cut in and do the most damage. So I think there's a big melee. There's a big mixing pot, a melting pot of reasons as to why he isn't hitting the heights at the moment. But for sure, natural inconsistency, and it's not something that we're sweating over. Anywhere near sweating over just yet. But on to another, I mean, we'll try and get the negatives swiftly out of the way. It was a week to forget for the under-21s. 5-0 loss to Manchester United in one of the cups, the Premier League Youth Cup, or I think it might even have been the league, and then 5-1 defeat. No, it wasn't a 5-1 defeat to Man City. It was another 5-0 defeat to Man City with Ryan McIdu scoring in the last minute, which was absolutely horrible. I mean, it's been a fantastic year for the academy so far. We've seen some players come through, even in last week, Shin Mayuka getting his first start in the Premier League, Tyreek George getting his first assist in the Premier League, at Chimpong, Ishe Samuel Smith, Keanu Dyer, Raksaki. Quite a few players have come through this season. Hopefully this is just kind of a blip in Chelsea's youth season. I am going down to Kingsmeadow on Friday. So if anybody is in and around the area on Friday, 7:00, Chelsea under-21s versus Ipswich under-21s in the Premier League Cup. Come and shout your boy. Come get involved. Come and have a chinwag. Be good to link up with anybody if you are heading down to Kingsmeadow this Friday. But on the whole, it's been positive for the youngsters. And, I think Mardi Nicole Yazialai, if I'm getting that right, scored at under 17 level. He's under 15. He scored at under 16 or 17 level for England. Ryan Mavuma, doing excellently for England. There's some big call-ups and big performances from Chelsea youngsters for the England setup. So the academy is still very much going strong, and we are still pulling brilliant players from La Cobham. But the one that everyone is getting excited about now is not a Cobham Academy graduate. He's not a Brit. He's not from Europe. He's a 17-year-old. A 17-year-old record breaker from Brazil, from Palmeiras. Not only the youngest player in Palmeiras history to score in the Copa Libertadores, but now the first Brazilian under the age of 18 to reach 30 career goals and assists since Neymar in 2010. Charms. How much of this hype around Estevao Willian can we believe? How much is this guy going to change our team when he joins in July 25?
It's difficult when a player is brought in a summer before he's actually initiated into the club. And then, you look at the player and you watch their trajectory and you just think 99% of the time you think, yeah, this player is good, but do we have time? Players like Estevao Willian, you don't think that. They're that 1% that you think, oh, yeah. Wow, we snapped their hands off with that one. Arrive tomorrow, you slide in. Whether you're on a sub bench, cool. That's just out of respect for the people that have put in the work. When it comes to talent and ability, kid is different. Kid is exciting. I think between him and Paez, I think that the future is so bright for next year. I think that we've got the next foot. Just thinking about Kenzie Paez with Estevao Willian and Cole Palmer, and just think that they all three of them have got 10 years at the highest level, and they're all signed to Chelsea with 8-9 years on their contract. It's a fucking gorgeous sight, because even if something goes wrong, there's 100 million for any of them at any given point, and it's just a beautiful situation to be in. To be totally honest, this is the beauty of the Clear Lake business model, because every now and then you snap up that 16-year-old, that 17-year-old, and they're Estevao Willian. Every now and then you do get the old kid in Dewsbury Hall that couldn't quite do what they were expected to do. But when you don't get that, when you do get the Cole Palmers, you get the Estevao Willians, it's all going to tick on. And it's crazy. It's crazy that we're talking about his success. He's not even worn the top yet, but the player is different, and we can all tell that. Anyone that knows ball can just go and do the number. If you like numbers, go look at the numbers. And if you like doing the tape, you're watching the football, do the tape. Go watch the football. We're all going to be happy in the end of the day. This is a great signing for a great player at a great club, and he's going to do great things.
Yeah, I think he's just, the type of player that the neutral can enjoy. Any fan of any team, sport. If you like athletes, if you like talent, you're going to love Estevao Willian. I mean, there's a reason he is nicknamed Messinho. He can score every type of goal. He can do everything. Right foot, left foot, head, shot, pause, long range, tap-ins, poacher. I mean, this guy, dribbling ability, flair, entertainment level, to get Brazilians off their feet. I mean, Brazilians have got to see something. Brazilians have seen more flair than I've had hot dinners at 27 years old. And these man know. These man know he's up next up. This is not us saying world beater, record breaker. This is the Brazilians. This is a whole generation of football fans who have grown up with the likes of Neymar. The most that they have been, they've gone from players like Garrincha to Ronaldinho to Neymar. There's always been a player. Yeah. There's always been one in Brazil. I mean, you can't lie. Their team has, I think, dropped off a cliff in recent years. I think to look at the quality in today's Brazil team compared to, 2002, 2004, when we were kind of growing up, it's a crying shame. But I mean, players like Estevao Willian, if they can be the rebirth, the regeneration of this new Brazil, this Joga Bonita, look, I cannot wait for him to join. He links up in July 2025. I think it's before the Club World Cup, so we might get a chance to see him at the Club World Cup. It's going to be interesting to see how he is integrated into this team. I can't imagine he doesn't get straight in. 34 million isn't a massive fee, but he's worth a hell of a lot more than that. At this
already,
point,
yeah.
I mean, it's undoubted that Chelsea wingers are going to be looking in the rear view. They're going to be seeing the waves that he's making, the performances, the goals he's scoring. I mean, Cole Palmer, obviously, as you mentioned, is safe. Cole Palmer's looking at these reels going, I can't wait to feed him the ball, to be playing these 1-2s with him. But these other wingers, they're watching it going, hey, yeah, shit, he's better than me than that. He's better than me at that. He's better. Yeah, I better get me fucking skates on. Who do you think is most worried or should right now be most worried? Leaving Mykhailo Mudryk to the side. Because Enzo Maresca said again in his press conference the other day, for everyone looking for an update, they said, have you got an update on Mykhailo Mudryk? And Enzo Maresca went, no. That's all the information that is available to the public. So with Mudryk out the picture, who do you think is most concerned right now with their position in this squad?
Definitely players like, Noni Madueke, he'd be shitting it because he's expendable. I think players like Jadon Sancho, because he's not complete, that's not a finalised purchase, although I imagine we will probably pull the trigger on him. I bet he's probably worried for his game time going forward, particularly if we do buy him. So that them two either side, because as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen, Estevao Willian, he prefers the left, but he's not really set on either side. He can play left, he can play on the right, and I think that's going to be a bit of a problem. When it comes to the players in our squad worrying about their longevity. But they're the two that I worry about the most. Obviously, there's no need to mention Mykhailo Mudryk, because I think that he's got other things in and around the dynamic at the minute. Obviously,
in and around his system.
Yeah, facts. Like a Bible. Mark Yu probably doesn't need to worry being central.
DNA, bro.
Do you know what I mean? You've got compound V, blood. But honestly, the worst uses of PEDs ever has got to be Mykhailo Mudryk. Like, come on, blood. Like, what we doing, innit? You? Fucking hell, Misha, blood. You? Really? But yeah, no, they're the two that stand out the most. Because I think, Pedro Neto is probably safe because of the versatility and the ability that he offers. I think that, players like Tyreek George are probably safe. Academy product, love him, come straight from the club. It's all pure prof. Get a couple more seasons out of him before they even think about getting rid, which I wouldn't want to see personally. But it's those type of players I would say would be them shitting themselves the most.
Fair enough. I mean, fingers crossed he is straight in. I think Kendry Paez is probably more likely at this point, just kind of from what I've seen of him. I think he looks less ready. I think when you look at kind of some of the youth players like Tyreek George, I think talent-wise, he's got it in abundance, got bags, but I do think he needs a loan move just to work on his physicality, his decision-making, his kind of... his decision-making, and particularly in the final third, I think could use some work at the top of the game. And Kendry Paez, again, undoubted on the talent. I think he's a superb player, but it'll be interesting to see if he is part of this squad. Because you've got to remember, I mean, we got fucking Andre Santos coming back, who I expect to be a huge part of the first team next season. There's no way Andre Santos, goes out on loan, or, we look to sell him. Well, actually, I say no way. Fucking touch wood, fingers crossed, because I would riot. But yeah, some good business for whatever you think of the Clear Lake Capital. This whole kind of regime, whether you're anti, whether you're pro, whether you were part of the protests, you can't deny they've scouted some unbelievable talents. They have made some very shrewd signings. 34 million euros for Estevao Willian is looking like an absolute bargain. And yes, there have been some players they've paid over the odds or through the nose, and we might not get that back. But I think overall, with these sort of signings, we're going to be fine. And, realistically, if you're a Chelsea fan irked by this recruitment strategy, you want to see more of the academy. If I was to say, as a trade-off for all of this, we get a Messi regen every 3 years, you ain't going to say no.
Yeah, I agree.
One Messi is worth 5 years of bad transfers, because one Messi wins you every cup in the world. So fingers crossed he keeps going at the trajectory. Like we said, we don't want to lump too many expectations, too much weight on this guy's shoulders. But if there is one guy that we can comfortably say very excited to see in a Chelsea shirt next summer, it is Estevao Willian. But another player that I am hoping, we are both hoping we see back in a Chelsea shirt is Djordje Petrovic. 4 consecutive clean sheets in League One now. And not only has his shot stopping been labelled world-class by analysts, but also his command of the box, something that neither of our keepers have at the moment. And with journalists again reiterating this week that Chelsea have no interest in signing a new number one. They have said that between Sanchez, Petrovic, Jorgensen and Mike Penders, we have a world-class goalkeeper. Charms, just talk to me about those four, about this situation, because as much as we've been, investing in the Jorgensen stocks, another big mistake from him, cost us 2 points against Aston Villa. And while he's not as mistake prone, not as dangerous as Robert Sanchez, I can't help but thinking, not going in for a goalkeeper in the summer is going to be a big oversight.
I don't know. This is one thing that I've really been starting to think about, and we spoke about this a little bit last week. You asked me if I could make 2 signings, what would you do? And I think you were quite surprised when I didn't mention a goalkeeper. But I think you were quite surprised when I mentioned Mike Penders as well, because I think that people aren't really understanding, this kid's ability. He plays first team football at Genk right now. He's what? He's either 18 or 19 years of age. He's so young. It's a joke. He's about 6'4", so unbelievably athletic for his age. Give him 4 or 5 years, he comes back in. He's like 22. You know what I mean? He's like 23 coming back into this squad. That kid is serious, and I think that is going to be like a Courtois, a kid that we buy in, we get him off to a Belgian league for a few seasons, bring him back in and see how he is, and if he's good enough, that's a Champions League ready goalkeeper. That's what happened with Courtois, and I think that the same thing will happen with Mike Penders. In the meantime, though, as you said, Petrovic is the man. I mean, if we're going to go out for one in summer, I don't really see the point. I think it's the same thing of why we didn't go for one in January. I mean, all we got to do is recall him back, and we've got a quality goalkeeper. But Petrovic, I don't understand why he went out in the first place. I think that you felt the same thing. But I think we might be proven wrong, with him coming back and being this authority in the box. I think that commanding has been what he's developed in that time abroad, that you don't really get the opportunity to make mistakes in the Premier League when you're leading a back line. Everything has to be perfect all the time. And we see that with Robert Sanchez and Jorgensen. It doesn't go perfect for them. And they do get labelled as clowns and donkeys and this and that. And if I'm being honest, and I'm taking off my, oh, look, I'm funny, Two Blues podcast. If I take my hat off for a second, Robert Sanchez is a good goalkeeper. You know what I mean? He's solid. He just makes too many mistakes to be the goalkeeper for a club like Chelsea. We can't make these mistakes. And Jorgensen, we saw less of those mistakes because we saw so much of him in the Conference League against non-Premier League opposition. Wow, this guy's good. Well, let's get him instead. He comes in, he makes the error. He's the clown. He's the laughing stock. Are you sure you made the right decision? Should have just kept Sanchez. Oh, Maresca knew who is number one. All of this. I don't want to hear it. It's whatever. Let's just deal with this to the end of the season. Let's get rid of one of them. Let's loan the other one out, and let's get Petrovic in. If we don't want to, let's sell one of them for sure. Keep one of them. Leave them on the bench. I want Petrovic in my net. Penders is the one goes on loan. Something along those lines. But we've got 4 goalkeepers. I think 2 of them we tried and we're not feeling them. One of them we tried and we were feeling and we sent on loan. He's coming back. He's going to stick in net. And the other one, he's too young to even be involved in this situation. So I'm not mad at it. I think that there is a goalkeeper signed to the club already, as the club believes as well. It's just about praying that we don't get slapped every week with 3 goals in the back of our net by the end of the season, because that'd be a pretty brutal way to end it.
Yeah, I think what worries me, and I think you've summarised it very, very well. I think I echo virtually every single thing you've said in that kind of breakdown. And the main kind of takeaway is that these keepers are good keepers. I know we chat shit and I know we give them fucking digs. There's a big difference between being a good keeper and being a top keeper. And we have keepers that are unproven at the top level. Yes, Robert Sanchez has played Premier League football, for a lower side. Yes, Philip Jorgensen has played European football, but not Champions League football, not Europa League, not against big opposition. And these guys are very much unproven at the top level. That's what I feel. Just with goalkeepers, I do feel that that's something that you need to go out and get a ready-made. There's no point in making it from scratch, doing the 3 hours of preparation and fucking skinning your onions. Go to fucking Tesco, pay £10 for the fucking Charlie Bigham one, ready-made. You already know it's going to slap. You already know what it does. You can see the ingredients. You ain't got to fucking do it yourself. You ain't got to worry about cooking time. It's there. It's easy. That's always, I feel like with keepers, it's such a risk because, you could have Mike Penders, Gaga Slonina, could be the next Courtois or better. If one of them breaks their finger in the next 5 years, if one of them throws one punch after a night out and breaks his knuckle, he's done. Like, it takes very little to fuck a keeper up. Like, they are fragile individuals. And yeah, I'm not sure if kind of nurturing keepers. Chelsea have so many young keepers on the books, not just that we've signed, but academy graduates. We've got so many: Max Merrick, Eddie Beach, Sharman Lowe. A lot of these guys are on loan this year, and I don't think they're ever going to play for Chelsea as a first team player. I mean, you could argue, and I've got a gut feeling. The more I see, the more I hope and wish that he is going to be brought back into the fold. But I just have this gut feeling that Chelsea are going, that Clear Lake are going to stand on business, stand on what they said, and not let him back into the club. They are going to choose Jorgensen and or Sanchez, and they're going to look at Petrovic and go, you know what? A, Strasbourg want him. We can sell him to them. Or B, we can make more than the 13, 14 mil, whatever we spent, because it will be marginal profit. But there's no way that we don't sell this guy for profit. He is absolutely cooking at Strasbourg at the moment, and they absolutely love him.
Just to clear that up, would we make a profit selling him to Strasbourg? Because it feels like we'd be paying ourselves, if you know what I mean. I think that.
Look, it's, want to move him to keep them sweet. I mean, that their fans don't see us as connected per se. I know we're sister clubs. Their fans hate us and our owners. And we're, at the moment, I feel like Chelsea have got to do, it's very much damage limitation. It's very much, we've just got to keep those guys happy. If we are going to use them to nurture our youngsters, let's at least send them over some good youngsters. Let's at least buy them some good players like Valentin Barco, who I think is a great signing. And let's at least, not fuck up the flow when players like Andre Santos are killing it. Let's not pull them back. Let's let them finish out the season. And then when we do take him back at the end of the year, they look at that and go, thank you for letting us have him, not fuck you for taking him away in January. Yeah. And I do think it's one of those where it could be a very, very positive relationship. You look at Girona and Man City, getting players like Savinho. If we can nurture talents through Strasbourg, saves us having to find our Vitesse or our other club in Europe that we have to loan players out. We know a team is going to be playing in the top level. You've got ready-made individuals to go over. Kendry Pires, I'd argue, is pretty much a perfect mould for what Strasbourg, for going over to Strasbourg. Play in a European league first, build up your physicality, play with some flair players, some tricky players. You see how players like Ryan Cherky do over there. I think it is very conducive to young development, the French league, but it is just one that obviously, we get 3 loan spots every year. We've got to manage it correctly. Because if they get pissed off, they already had a protest before we did. And, the owners, it's a very, very delicate situation, I think, with 2 clubs, because you've got to ensure to the fans that they believe you have both of their interests at heart, which the Strasbourg fans, I feel, don't believe that Clear Lake care. But it's one of those things. We were talking earlier in the season about, healthy competition. Let's just ensure it remains healthy. Again, we've just got to ensure this relationship remains healthy, and that we don't, sour a team that eventually we could be taking players from, because there are a couple of players, I can't remember his name, but the Swedish guy, attacking midfielder that plays for Strasbourg, incredibly good player. Mamadou Sarr, a player that we were linked with and apparently bought in January, although he's still contracted to Strasbourg. Potential for him to join the club in the summer. So it's one of those where I don't think there's really any negatives to having a good relationship with a sister club. But it is very much, we do just have to ensure that it does stay a positive relationship. But just jumping in the comments very quickly, because a couple of people have joined us. Moses, appreciate you joining, my guy. Edwige, of course you were here before we went clear, soon to be at 100k subs. Not quite soon, but we're getting there. Stephen, big up yourself, my guy. Big up. Why are some of the fan base overhyping Estevao when he's still a kid with no European football experience? Plus, our club is a mess thanks to Clown Lake's ownership. If we look at it as 2 separate points here, we're not denying that the club is a mess thanks to Clown Lake's ownership, but unfortunately, that is the reality of the situation. Nothing we say here or do here will change that. We can sit here and complain all we want, or we can sit here and be thankful that we have got an ownership that spends money rather than Jim Ratcliffe, who could have been our owner and would undoubtedly have the club in a worse situation. So let's just be grateful and thankful for what we've got on that front, I personally think. But in terms of overhyping Estevao, look, we made a point to say we don't want to get too caught up, and he's only a 17-year-old. We don't want to lump all these expectations on his shoulders. But Stephen, go and watch him. Just type Estevao Willian into YouTube and come back in 10 minutes and tell me you're not excited. If you do, you're lying. I mean,
I'll put it like this, man.
I don't know one person that's not excited for Estevao Willian.
I agree. If you're ever up at 1 o'clock in the morning, half 1, 2, and you see Palmeiras on your Bet365, and you just think, you know what, let's just watch it. You won't even need to ask or Google which one's who, where it. He'll grab your attention for you, mate. Don't you worry about all of that. He's the type of player that he gets the eye. You see him move in the way that he wants to attack and take on players, and the way that he passes in his range, and he's special, mate. For a 17-year-old to be playing the way that he does with the confidence he has, it's different gravy.
Yeah. Moses saying, I think it's been like 3 seasons now. How many more seasons do you think you'll go just with the same strategy of buying young talent, developing and selling for profit to see nothing coming blooming? Again, to separate it, how many more seasons do you think you'll go with this? Indefinitely. I don't think the strategy is going to change. I think until Clearlake and co lose £1 billion on an awful deal, I don't think they're going to change. They're businessmen. They have a 3-5 year plan in place, so it will be minimum for the next 2-3 years. And then after that, who knows? But I can't see them ditching the model. It's something that they've done with American teams, with the LA Dodgers. It is something that I think they will try and push with Chelsea until they cannot push it anymore. Essentially that just means throwing enough money until we win a Premier League and/or a Champions League and recoup some of that.
Yeah, and the other part is as well is I just the bit at the end there where it says go with the same strategy of buying young talent, developing and selling for profit to see nothing coming blooming. And this is the thing. When you're talking about seeing nothing, have we seen nothing? Because I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that we've seen a player be brought into the club and essentially be, have the word Ballon d'Or thrown around him in Cole Palmer. We're seeing the same thing with Estevao Willian, essentially signing a 17-year-old for that 35 million price tag. And when he comes into the squad, just to watch him shred it up. I mean, say he has a fantastic
one of the
season.
Best centre mids in the Premier League.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like Moises Caicedo, fair enough, bought with a fat, healthy 95 million pound price tag. Fair enough. There's a lot of money to come attached to it. The expectation should be high, but I feel like he's met that expectation, and he's been one of the most consistent centre mids in the Premier League. And you can say the same thing about getting in Romeo Lavia for the price that we got him in, around that 40 million pound price tag. I would say that when he's fit and when he's able, I think he's a 100 million pound player, and he shows that time and time again. And we can get these players in and we can get them off. We haven't had enough time accrue and pass yet that these players that we've got in can leave. We haven't seen any of these players who have been put on these, prison sentence contracts. We haven't seen any of them break that contract and leave the club like a Mykhailo Mudryk. But I think that this is the summer where we'll start to see those contracts dissolve, and we'll start to see some of the better players come in. And I think overall, this is going to lead to us having a world-class squad, an absolutely stacked world-class squad. And although the strategy may not make sense for some, I can assume the saltiness comes from being an Arsenal fan who hasn't had a striker in a decade.
Yeah, but Moses, who do you support, Moses? Let us know. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to show you, I didn't see this touch on the first 4 replays. I think Tyrone Mings has just made the best deflection I've ever seen in my life. The best goal-saving interception I have ever seen in my entire life. No. Let's see if we can see. It's when the ball comes in, wait.
He flicked it off the line.
Wait. Just wait for one angle.
Oh my God.
Yeah, watch how slight the touch is. Wait
Oh
for
my
this angle.
lord!
Wait. Look, it's going in. It's going in. Boom.
And he's actually rediverted it. That's
That
nuts.
is
That's tough.
unbelievable. I have goosebumps right now at
That's
watching a
tough.
Tyrone Mings interception. What the fuck?
Is it
That
still 1-0?
was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Still 1-0. I don't know how. Yeah, it is an unbelievable second half again. Marco Asensio has just come on and had a chance immediately. Good save from the keeper, but then that's just happened. Yeah, 70 minutes played, 20 to go. Come on, the Aston Villa. We do like the Aston Villa. Seb, what are you saying, brother? Not sure how much you've been listening or watching, but yeah, talk to us. What do you think about today's show? How much do you agree with / disagree with? Anything else to say? And before we go, I think last thing, I mean, we can give you a little bit of a preview on the Champions League, but I think probably only right to talk Conference League. I mean, first time in 3 months that we're going to be back in Conference League action. Copenhagen in the round of 16. Are you confident about that as a 2-leg tie, or you're thinking it might be more difficult than?
I think that it's probably going to pose a little bit more of a threat than we want it to. But in the end of the day, it's Copenhagen, it's Chelsea. You know, I think that I've seen us play them before in Champions League in the past and Europa League in the world once been. And I think we slap them every single time we play them, to be totally honest. I've got no memories of them really being a threat. And I see the trend continuing. I think that not only do we need this win, but it's a must win in all degrees, you know, for the club, ownership, for the players themselves, for the management, everyone, for the fans. Everyone needs this win, and they need us to win this trophy. So I can't imagine Copenhagen will pose too much of a threat.
100%. I think, yeah, if we're going to liken them to anybody, I know it's a tough comparison to make. But yeah, their most recent game in the Conference League was against Heidenheim. And over 2 legs, they lost 1-2-1 and then they won 3-1. So they won 4-3, but very, very close. And we know how much of a threat Heidenheim posed to us. Required an exquisite goalkeeping performance from Philip Jorgensen. I think it was 12 saves or something ridiculous to keep a clean sheet in that game. But we did manage to win 2-0 away at Heidenheim. Fingers crossed that we will be billing up that Copenhagen pack. Abdi, I like one up for you, my bro. But yeah, get your predictions in the comments. You know what? Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to give you a preview on Thursday because it's a fucking 5:45 kickoff. Hate those. However, we will be able to bring you an earlier reaction. Are you working Thursday?
Yes.
All right, fair. Well, we'll bring you a reaction as usual. Maybe we can do some sort of preview or stream on the socials in the day. But either way, make sure you're following @2Blues Podcast on the Instagram, on the TikTok, and most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube. Guys, appreciate everybody that's joined, been involved in this conversation. Seb, Moses, Stephen, Edwige, and Abdi. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Stay tuned for more Chelsea content. All right, the boys.